Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this one I got for you is straight out of LA, Los Angeles, California. And this, I'm seeing a huge precipice and peak in untreated and undiagnosed mental illness. We're seeing a peak in homelessness and opioid addiction, and we're seeing a real issue with public safety. And there's been three caveats that I've noticed here recently that have taken place where public safety has become a real issue. One is in our city and county jails. There have been several people that have been dying, whether it's in Fulton County and Atlanta, St. Louis City Jail, Cook County Jail in Chicago, LA County. We're understaffed with correctional officers. There's been tons of chaos and disruption in many of our cities, and we're understaffed with police officers. St. Louis is down about 400 police officers that they need. Chicago needs about 1,000 police officers. New York needs about 1,500. There is a lot of understaffing with correctional officers in our jail and police officers on our streets. So public safety has become a real issue. The third place, so you're seeing public safety being an issue in our jail system, in our cities, and also at our university campuses. Many of our colleges and universities are in many of our major cities throughout our country. And we, as parents, are sending our kids away to school for them to learn and be in a healthy and protected environment so they can get their degrees. But once they leave campus, there is a lot of chaos and disruption in their surrounding cities. And this particular case has to do with UCLA. And of course, we all know that UCLA and USC is in the city of Los Angeles. There's been a ton of assaults and robberies and even a few murders here in St. Louis, where St. Louis University and Washington University sits in the city of St. Louis. There's been multiple assaults, armed robberies at DePaul University, which is in the city of Chicago, the northern part of downtown. Well, this one is about a young lady who was in grad school at UCLA and was doing a side job while she's in graduate school there to get an education and not worrying about whether her wealth and health and safety would be at risk. And I'm sure her parents weren't either. But she came across an individual who I suspect had severe mental illness, homelessness, helplessness, and hopelessness. And he took this young lady's life and her bright future away from her. And this is a very sad story. So parents, listen to this. We might have to make a different decision about sending our kids away to these universities with all of these public safety issues that are taking place throughout many of our cities. Man who fatally stabbed UCLA grad student Brianna Kupfer found guilty of murder. So let's hear this story. Jurors took a little more than an hour on Tuesday to convict a man of murder in the stabbing death of UCLA graduate student Brianna Kupfer as she worked in a Hancock Park boutique furniture store. Sean Lavelle Smith, 34-year-old transient, only 34, with a lengthy criminal record, was found guilty of murder with the special circumstances of lying in wait, as well as committing the crime with a deadly weapon, a knife. So this happened a couple of years ago, but he just got convicted. That's why I'm doing this story. On January 13, 2022, Smith stabbed Kupfer, listen to this, 46 times as she worked alone in an upscale Croft house. Prosecutors and LAPD detectives say the Pacific Palisades resident had texted a friend about 1:36 p.m. to say that she felt uncomfortable about a person who was in the store. The friend did not immediately respond, according to investigators, and about 20 minutes later, a customer found Kupfer on the floor covered in blood. The sanity phase of the trial was set for October the 2nd. Smith could receive a sentence of life without the possibility of parole if the judge determines he was sane at the time of the crime. Smith, who pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, has waived a jury trial for this phase. Key to the conviction was an audio recording on a device that prosecutors said belonged to Smith and provided horrific evidence of the attack. A man can be heard telling a woman he's not going to hurt her and ordering her just to get on the floor. The woman screams and the man says, "It's over, it's over, it's over, B." And we know what B stands for. Following the stabbing, Smith fled out of the back door of the furniture business, leaving his victim to bleed to death, according to prosecutor Habit Balian. Smith, however, left behind the knife, a knife sheath, and the audio recorder covered in DNA that would implicate him in the murder. Jurors agreed with Balian's argument that there was an overwhelming amount of evidence that the murder was premeditated and convicted Smith on the most serious charges of first-degree murder with the special circumstance allegation, as well as the knife allegation. Smith was arrested 6 days after Kupfer's death. A massive manhunt ended when police received a tip that Smith had been spotted sitting on a bus bench in downtown Pasadena. The tip came after Los Angeles police circulated his photo and a $250,000 reward was offered for information leading to his arrest and conviction. Brianna Kupfer was a promising young woman whose life was tragically taken far too soon, LA County District Attorney George Gascon said in a statement after the verdict. "I thank the jury for their thoughtful deliberation and dedication in finding the defendant guilty. A bright and talented," now listen to this, 24-year-old UCLA student. Her whole life is in front of her. Brianna was dedicated to her studies in architectural design with her whole future ahead of her. Our hearts are with Brianna's family, who have shown incredible strength and resilience throughout this harrowing ordeal. At the time of Kupfer's attack, and death, listening to Smith's past criminal record. Smith was out on bond pending a trial in South Carolina in a 2019 case. He was accused of firing a flare gun into a moving vehicle with a child inside. Smith pleaded guilty in 2018 to charges that 2 years before he resisted or assaulted a police officer in South Carolina's Charleston County. He was sentenced to time served according to court records. In January 2021, Smith allegedly vandalized a car in Daly City, California, and when officers arrested him, he resisted and bit one of the officers, according to court records. He was charged in San Mateo County with assault on a police officer and resisting arrest. He subsequently pleaded no contest to one felony charge of resisting arrest. In addition to an 8-month jail sentence, Smith was ordered to serve 2 years probation. Smith served 133 days in jail and was released, but failed twice to report to his probation officer, and his probation was revoked. A bench warrant was issued for Smith's arrest, but he vanished. This story has all kinds of makings of a failed court system, and of course we know in LA County, in California, they have what's called a cashless bail system, where you can get out if you commit a so-called minor infraction. You can get out under your own recognizance. We all know that with those liberal laws on the books, those laws have decimated the state of California. There are armed robberies, assaults, murders. There is a plethora of homelessness that is taking place throughout the entire state. I don't know, and this is all under the watch of Governor Gavin Newsom, who the Democrats want to be the next president in the future. And this is very important to listen to this story, how the governor, Gavin Newsom, is just destroying and decimating his own state. If he gets an opportunity to be the head of the Democratic Party for running for president after Trump, and he gets elected, what do you think he will do to the country? So this gentleman has had a plethora of issues with the criminal court system. It doesn't appear that he had anything that should have given him a life sentence, but him walking around from South Carolina all the way to California and the decimation that he has done on individuals and property in the United States, he needed to have a watchful eye. Yes, it is hard to watch individuals that don't have a stable home, a stable residence, and are homeless. But this story has a number of caveats to it. Untreated and undiagnosed mental illness, whether it's paranoid schizophrenia, stress, anxiety, homelessness, helplessness, joblessness. We have reached a precipice, as I said, that there is a fine line between humanity and inhumanity, between life and death. There is no precious jewel on one human being looking at another and admonishing and appreciating breathing fresh air, seeing the sun, and living life. We are callously taking each other's lives each and every day. And if you look at the ages of these people, their lives are in the very beginning, the beginning threshold of them living life. The alleged perpetrator, 34 years old. The alleged victim, 24 years old. What a sad story. And this is a cautionary tale to parents who are sending their kids away to these schools in other cities and states. If there is a ton of chaos and disruption in those cities, it is going to filter into the university campus or the surrounding areas. So not only do we need to vet the universities and colleges that we are sending our kids to, we need to vet the city and its public safety. This young lady got stabbed 46 times. She was in grad school. She was going to serve a great purpose for society. And unfortunately, she met this gentleman who had definitely mental health issues, who also had a heinous and demonic heart, and decided to take this young lady's life. California does not have death row or death penalty anymore, but jail does serve, prison and jail does serve a purpose for many of these individuals, and this man needs to spend the rest of his life in jail if these allegations are true, and he has been convicted. So this is a cautionary tale. We need to make sure that our universities are safe, our cities are safe, our states are safe. Public safety is a real issue in America. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience, Manifest Your Truth.